Superman is flying into theaters again this July, which has gotten a lot of fans excited at seeing James Gunn's take on the Man of Tomorrow. But what if I told you that I actually already got the chance to see James Gunn's take on Superman? I don't mean to flex here, but I was actually lucky enough to get an early screening all the way back in 2019, with the movie Brightburn.
But the kid from Brightburn...
Okay, that is a cop-out because that does not count.
But realistically speaking...
No.
No. Hear me out.
Brightburn does not count.
First of all...
Listen, Brightburn is a fan fiction that was turned into a movie.
He is an alien.
It's a great movie, by the way.
He is an alien.
No, that does not count.
Listen.
That is a cop-out.
Well...
That is a cop-out.
That is my cop-out, however...
That is my cop-out.
Brightburn was a movie produced by James Gunn, written by his brother Brian and his cousin Mark. And it also serves as a sequel of sorts to the James Gunn written and directed Super. For all intents and purposes, Brightburn was Superman if Superman was a horror story. The characters are very much cut from the same cloth, even more so than other evil Superman iterations. A lot of the time, characters like Homelander or Omni-Man are brought into the discussion, but Brightburn literally shares the exact same origin as the Man of Steel. Being an alien from another planet sent to Earth as an infant, crash landing in Kansas, and being taken in by two loving farmers looking to start a family. They then stash his ship in their barn and raise him like the son they never had, allowing him to believe he's adopted before he one day discovers the inevitable, that he's an intergalactic foreigner with powers greater than anyone could imagine. Unfortunately, this time around, all of the morals his parents instill in him don't take. He's far too blinded by the mental and, most important, emotional immaturity that comes with being a child. Too consumed by the power that he's just learned of and being guided by otherworldly forces telling him to take the world. Which, is a very realistic premise given the circumstances. I know it's not his quote, but with great power comes great responsibility. But this young man is far too young to be responsible. He's also at an age where it's easy to be led down poor paths, especially given the wrong influence. In all honesty, it makes you realize what a true miracle Clark Kent turning out the way he did was. The ties to Superman don't stop at the character's roots either. A lot of the time, it feels like the story is subtly recreating moments from the mythos, just tailored to their own lore. There are similar story beats there, familiar settings, and a couple of counterparts to compare. The titular character, Brandon Brayer, is a stand-in for Supes. His parents, Tori and Kyle, are very obviously Ma and Pa Kent. Additionally, it's mentioned that the character never bruises or bleeds. He's shown to be almost entirely invulnerable to things that would kill any mortal man, surviving even a shot to the head at close range. It's only when he cuts himself on the ship that the character is shown to suffer some damage, his one weakness not being man-made, but being a problem from his own planet, in a way sort of serving as his kryptonite. The character's also given the classic color scheme of red and blue, even prior to when he's in costume, which feels very reminiscent to the character's Smallville days, a show which saw the actor constantly tease his future self with his attire. The movie even ends up setting a nightmare-fueled Justice League, including an evil merman and a witch woman who kills using ropes. On an unrelated note, this fact is set up in the end credits by an Alex Jones-type character, years before Marvel would do something very similar with J. Jonah Jameson. This is really a product that wears its inspiration on its sleeve. Its influence is all over this. It is impossible to talk about this movie without talking about what led to its creation, and I think in that way it unfortunately was always doomed to be overshadowed. Rather than surviving as its own thing, it acts as a footnote in the grand history of Superman, and an unofficial one at that. But I do think despite all of that, it never feels like a straight-up ripoff. They definitely used a lot of the same ingredients, but they also changed the recipe. Despite doing a lot of the same things the Superman story did, it also did things very differently than a lot of other evil Superman stories do. I think generally speaking, evil Superman is way overdone at this point, both in and out of DC products. Even in the distant past of 2019, we'd still seen a lot of it. However, this one stands apart. Not turning the hero into a villain, but instead turning the hero toward horror, was a brilliant move, as was focusing on the character during his developmental years. Brandon is raised as a normal kid, but quickly proves to be anything but. On his 12th birthday, a transformation begins. Whereas some boys his age begin to become a man, he begins to become a monster. This sees him go from passive to passive-aggressive to aggressive-aggressive. And when he realizes that he's different and why it is that he's different, he suddenly believes that this makes him superior, striking his revenge on his friends, family, peers, and just overall community for the most petty perceived slights, even ending with him taking the lives of those who nurtured his. His unrequited love leads to him crushing his crush's hand. His desire to stay out of trouble leads to the death of his uncle, and his hit list leads to the loss of his parents' trust, and the eventual loss of his parents, all at his own hands. This is all horrifying as is, but to make matters far worse, the kid never learns his lesson. There's no hero to speak of in this telling of the tale, just victims. Not only does the bad guy win, but there is now no one and nothing left to stop him. When he figures out what his one weakness is, he destroys it so that he could be completely invulnerable, setting up for a very scary future. I think Brightburn is a highly underrated project. It was a neat premise that I think only just began to tap into its true potential. What hurts the most is that this is a very strong introduction to a wider story, and as of right now, it looks like that's a story that's gonna go untold. I would have loved to see what they could have created or recreated with future installments, but alas, it's more than likely not to be. At least not for a very long time, if ever. So having said that, if you haven't checked out Brightburn yet, I highly suggest it. It's well worth the watch. And if you'd like to see me take a look back at the only other installment in the short shared universe, Super, let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying,
I look like Superman. Why don't I sound like Superman?
What? I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was V Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.
It's over. Go home. Go.